Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter. Folks, we are going to have a great show. Good morning to the rest of the world receiving our signals via what again? Via what again? Via the magic of the Internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom again? By you. Now controlled by the billionaires, but we're going to take care of that over time. But before and without further ado, let's throw it to the studio. How are my two brothers in the studio doing? El Senor Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Beba.
Jack, have you seen my billion?
It's stuck in the cranny. The billion is stuck.
Oh, hell, I was looking for it in the nook.
Well, you know what happens when you look in them nooks.
Boy, I do. Sometimes I get slapped.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Man, you guys are messing with the nooks and crannies, man. What's up?
Nooks and grannies.
Oh, okay.
What is in Granny's nerve tonic?
I don't know what it is, but man, it makes me see double most of the time. Jack, what you got, man? You got a whole lot of wisdom. Got about a half a page of wisdom, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
All right, I'm good. I'm doing a companion piece to your stuff today.
All right.
Right. What country allows its citizens to be taken advantage of by greedy, profiteering corporations? Our country, the USA. Greedy billionaires have taken over the political process and have gamed the system and turned it into a inefficient, immoral, predatory healthcare system that turns the patient into a revenue stream to be exploited financially. Our healthcare system should be financed through taxation, not insurance. Take the profiteering away and install a healthcare system that is moral and humane.
Well, the good part about it is, Jack, is once the incoming administration completely and totally destroys the government, we can start over again and start installing those.
Hey, that's an idea.
You know what? Something that is profound. Sometimes you just have to tear something down, let people see how bad it can get to build it back up. Unfortunately, a lot of people suffer, but hey, that's what they voted for. So, but you know what, Howard? Jack, what you said makes such sense about that healthcare thing. Let's go ahead and introduce Brother Aquino, and then I want to have a little short word about that because I did a piece yesterday that it's too long to play here right now, but I want to kind of talk about. But Brother Aquino, Neil Aquino from the Houston Democracy Project, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. He is the founder. He is here every Thursday with us with his wisdom. Senor Aquino, give me some wisdom.
Very good. Very good. Good morning. Good morning. I spent the last week in the Chicago area, and it was cold. It was cold up there, and I saw Lake Michigan, and it's a big blue unsalted sea. It was nice as could be to look at it, but it sure was cold.
The last time I was in Chicago, I made the mistake. Actually, no, that's not true. The last time I went to Chicago was in the summer, but the time before that was in the winter. And I made the mistake and walked the shorelines of, Lake Michigan?
Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan. And my God, I had never felt such a piercing cold that went through that thick coat that I had on. Was like nothing. But anyhow, talking about what brother Jack not Jack Cousteau, I think it's Jack Van Bibber. What Jack Van Bibber had to talk about. Yesterday, I did a piece on the 3:00 show. It was a reprise of an interview that I did 4 years ago with a guy in Norway. This guy went ahead, and I think it was after Bush. I think it was after Bush got elected. He just got fed up with the United States, and he moved to Norway. And in Norway, he worked in a theater and he did some other stuff. And his kids grew up in Norway. And one of his kids had an accident on a mountain, broke his back, got paralyzed. And, once you're talking about a kid or an adult with a chronic accident like that and with almost a lifetime of support or years of recovery, that is hard on the family. I can tell you, right now, having a daughter that came back home, having had 2 strokes, it's very, 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 very difficult here in the United States. If you had anything like that occur to you, well, this guy's son broke his back. He was paralyzed. And I continue to do stories on healthcare. And he went ahead and he saw one of my programs in Norway. And he wrote me a long email telling me the whole story about what occurred with his son and how for them it was nothing. The only thing they had to worry about is his son recovery and the pain of senior's kid in the state that the kid was in. But what made life worth living, what made life pleasurable, was just watching how in Norway, the state, your country, your government said, we love all our people enough. We care about our people enough that we are going to give them a part of our social construct is to give you that which makes you better, that which makes you whole. And what they did is they took care of that kid from the time that kid was injured. He got a helicopter ride off of that mountain by the healthcare system into their medical system. And that medical system brought that kid back. When they had to isolate that kid, meaning that kid had to be away from home, that medical system within that country made sure that that kid could have his parents fly to see him where he was, etc., with no burden onto the family proper. That society made a contract with themselves and said, we will all pay taxes so that if any one of us has something bad happen to us, we would be cared for. I mean, it is just what society means, right? Together we can do much better for ourselves than solely than by ourselves. And, when we started talking about what the Medicare Advantage program and how this system is screwing our seniors, showing them roses up front, but when they are supposed to pay, they don't. When they're supposed to care for you, they don't. After, going through all of this, and by the way, December 7th is a deadline for which people have to sign up for either traditional Medicare or Medicare Advantage. Remember, I tell you guys, don't take Medicare Advantage. We have got to get private healthcare being the dominant system in our healthcare out. Because their sole purpose is to make money for the plutocracy. Their sole purpose is to make money for the oligarchy. The sole purpose is to make money for a few. And I know many of you have been lied to and believe the crap that you hear on TV about how great our healthcare system is. It is not. And it is not on Love for America that have anybody saying that our healthcare system is no good. Our healthcare system is only good for the well-funded after we, the American people, have paid for all the inventions and the theories and the techniques that we have, that the private sector then says they did. Elon Musk puts a suborbital flight up in the sky, and we say, oh, wow, look at what the private sector did, when we, the people, are the ones who created the technology or invested in the technology that does these things, both as well as in the healthcare. Imagine, America, imagine if we decided to become a humane nation. Yesterday, Brian, one of our regular callers, really got on me, and he really got me upset because he made the attempt to tell me, one, that I didn't know my own country and of origin, and two, that somehow I hate a country where I reside in, which was false. What I wish more people did is look at what we do objectively. Objectively see that we're not perfect. Objectively see that other places may have found a way to do things better than we do, or that we do. And in that process, learn from others. I learn from people every single day. I can learn from a 5-year-old, or I can learn from an 80-year-old. Because if you leave your mind open to learning, things get better for all. So anyway, folks, without further ado, after taking up 5 minutes of soliloquy here, I want to lay the floor down for my brother from another mother, and the founder of Houston Democracy Project, El Señor Neil Aquino.
Great. Thank you. Good morning. And these things, I have 2 topics this morning. Both are written about on my Houston Democracy Project .blog, Houston.com, Houston Democracy Project blog. One, I just want to thank those folks in South Korea who went to the National Assembly building when their president declared martial law. I just want to thank those folks. What a contrast between January 6th and the way that's being handled in South Korea. The president, President Yoon, declared martial law late at night, whatever he was thinking. He's got his own legal problems. He's got bad poll numbers, declared martial law. The military tried to enforce it, or some of the military, at least some of the police. The people went down there. There's a picture on my blog of people went down there with cameras, video recorders, and they took pictures of the troops entering the National Assembly building so that it would be documented. And that's a good lesson for here. That can be done here if we encounter situations where police, National Guard, DPS, Greg Abbott's troops are following a martial law order, a use of the Insurrection Act by President Trump, as he's threatened. But the upshot is voting's important. I say this all the time. Voting's important, but it's not enough. We voted, and voted. And here we are in this situation. So it's all connected. And thank you to those folks in South Korea and Seoul who showed up. It was a brave act, and it showed you it could be done. Those troops had guns, were under a despotic president, and they showed up. So that's my first topic today. And thank you to those folks. The other, Mayor Whitmire has a plan to address homelessness. Mayor Whitmire has a plan to address homelessness, and it was done in his usual fashion. He announced it, held a press conference. Not another elected official was on the platform with him for that press conference. He held it November 21st at City Hall. And just want to talk from the Houston Landing. They want to put people in stable housing immediately by keeping beds available, partnering with police to get residents to resource hubs, and increasing outreach to unhoused individuals. Now, the Supreme Court last summer changed how we do things, and you can now criminalize lying on the street. You can, but before you could, it had a First Amendment protection. You could not, and he cited that. He cited the Supreme Court had given him a tool. To continue, the city will need to enact ordinance changes. So the ordinance change it's the civility ordinance. It's called the civility ordinance. It's linked to in my blog. And the civility ordinance only pertains to the most poor. The civility ordinance only pertains to the people down on their luck. All the civility ordinance does is deal with lying on the street. It's enforced in certain areas of the city. He wants to enforce it to all of the city. And I just get so caught up in this term civility ordinance because it's only the most poor who have to be civil. So that Range Rover driver runs the red light, almost kills you, goes on their way. That incivility spans all economic classes, but they want to expand the so-called civility ordinance just for the most poor. They're the only ones who got to be polite. The city's already committed $25 million. They don't have a funding source. He talks about a $70 million program. He wants to partner with the state. Now, that might be fine. We should get back the money. The state takes money from us. We give them money. We're an economic engine. But I'm not really comfortable with our homeless policy contingent on our far-right state government. And Mayor talks about wanting to reclaim public space. He kept using that term. Now he's right. There's a lot of folks in the library. There are people in the library. He mentioned the restrooms at the main public library, and they're a disaster. It's true, and it is something that has to be addressed. But he talks about reclaiming public space. But the mayor has made it more difficult to be a pedestrian. He's made it more difficult to be a cyclist. He is no friend of public space, and I don't trust his definition of public space. But I'm not a homeless expert. I don't have policy suggestions. I'm not a homeless expert. The upshot of what I'm saying is our Houston City Council needs to be involved. Mayor Whitmire just does what he wants. He comes up, he shifts around money. There was a discussion yesterday in Houston City Council. He took $2 million that council had voted on for lights on a bridge in Montrose, whatever you think of the program, and he simply took the $2 million without council approval, and he gave it to the homeless initiative. And there was a lengthy discussion. Council members Pollard and Kamen led the discussion. How did you do that, Mayor? And he couldn't answer it. He takes money. He acts arbitrarily. He doesn't include council. He browbeats members of council. The only council member who has spoken up regarding the plan is Tiffany Thomas, who represents A-Leaf. She has some questions. Those questions are linked to in my blog. So the upshot of what I'm saying is, yes, there ought to be a plan to address homelessness. There's no reason to trust Mayor Whitmire to do so. He's using a regressive Supreme Court decision as the basis of it. His funding isn't there, so they'll get the people off the street, but there's no guaranteed funding for it. And he'll act without counsel. And our council needs to be active in questioning this guy. And as we fight for democracy, you saw those folks in South Korea were willing to stand up at risk to their lives. The least that we can ask our Houston City Council is that you do your job. And you have an arbitrary mayor, he makes stuff up. You can't trust him. You can't trust the people who support him. And we need to hold him accountable. And on my blog, I link about how you can speak at council, how you can contact your council member. And the logical extension of what I'm telling you is you ought to be involved, should be involved. Look into this. There are so many other issues, the sidewalk ordinance, that citizen involvement does matter, and I encourage you to follow this. And that's what I have. Those are my two topics this morning.
The first topic that you spoke about was South Korea, and what I want to add to that is I hope, because let me tell you, we know that Project 2025, Project 2025 is huge. So we can just about call out Project 2025 for everything that Trump's going to do.
Right.
And we know that there will be justifiable protests to ensure that we let our legislators or Congress people know that they just can't execute these things. Trump had no mandate. Trump has no mandate to do the things he wants to do. More than half of the population voted against Trump. So thus, he has no mandate. He has to work in some sort of a coalition. If he attempts to do this, there will be protests. Now, he has said before that he intends on. If he had to declare martial law when BLM were protesting, he would like to do that sort of thing. And now that he doesn't have to worry about being reelected, that's something he's likely to try. What I hope that comes out of South Korea is that he sees that even as that president's poll numbers were low, he was likely to stay in power. But now that he attempted that martial law crap, they are actually going to impeach him, both the people of his party and otherwise. So I hope Donald Trump gets the message that when the protest begins against the things that he's going to attempt to do, that he doesn't get in his mind that somehow martial law can save him. Because just like those folks in South Korea decided to fight, so will the American people fight him if he attempts anything called martial law.
There's a column this morning in the New York Times by a columnist, David French, who writes about, can martial law happen in the United States? And you may have seen this. This has been referenced repeatedly. The Insurrection Act of 1798. John Adams was president. He did those Alien and Sedition Acts, which curtailed the freedom of the press and are still viewed in infamy under President Adams. This is a quote from the Insurrection Act. Whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages, or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States, that's when he can use these powers. Take any measures he considers necessary. That's a quote. To suppress any insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combination, or conspiracy. So the upshot is he's got that language. It's broad. It's not clear. It doesn't involve congressional oversight. It's a 226-year-old law. And that was what he was considering using during the George Floyd protest. And it says here that the last time that this was invoked was during the Los Angeles riots in 1992, which had to do with the acquittal with Rodney King, the acquittal of the police involved with Rodney King.
Like I've said, the Constitution, for the most part, is a great document, but also the Constitution is a document that it's all, in as much as we call the Constitution a property document. It is also a class document because it protects classes, if you will. In other words, it's not truly fully. It has undemocratic outtakes. The Senate is an undemocratic outtake. The Insurrection Act is an undemocratic outtake. It has a whole lot of outtakes there to protect the few. That meaning the plutocracy, that really should have some mitigation. Welcome aboard, Jay, and thank you so kindly, Jay. Likewise, Paul Fleming Sr. Thank you for being here from, I think he's from Powder Springs, Georgia. We have listeners all over. Go ahead.
Before we our first call, and I appreciate callers, I just want to make, when I mentioned Mayor Whitmire, he's doing stuff without approval. So we talk about Trump. What Mayor Whitmire was asked repeatedly yesterday, how can you take this money that council allocated? Council voted for this money to light up the bridge in Montrose. I actually think I don't really think it's an effective use of money, but it doesn't matter. Council approved it. He said, I take personal responsibility. Those were his words. Okay. But he's not the boss. He can't just take personal responsibility.
And not only that, what the hell does personal responsibility mean? What sort of consequences? It doesn't mean anything.
And I have referenced here before, and we'll talk about it again in the future. At the moment the process is stalled, the sidewalk ordinance. With our sidewalk ordinance, if you build a new home, a new lot, you're supposed to pay a fee. If you either build a sidewalk, you're paid a fee. Whatever you think of the law, Mayor Whitmire wrote a memo gutting the fee. But there was a vote of council. So the point I'm trying to make to folks is he just is taking laws of ordinances of council, and it is no different. Musk and Trump want to repeal a 1974 post-Watergate law because President Nixon was getting funding bills from Congress and was not appropriating the funds. So a law was passed negating the president's ability. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what's going on here. Mayor Whitmire is saying, I'm not going to follow counsel. And Musk and Trump are saying they want to take this law to the Supreme Court. You at Congress can pass this. This is why they don't care that they have such a thin majority in the House of Representatives, why they're going to pull 2 or 3 people out to take administration positions and leave the Republicans with just a 1-seat majority. They don't care because they intend to ignore Congress.
It's called a unitary. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right. And John, to end it, John Whitmire doesn't care that that there is a fee for a sidewalk, to not build a sidewalk. Council did approve this money, or if you remember at the beginning of his term, where he ripped up the new improvements on Houston Avenue. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter whether you are for or against these things. That's irrelevant. He just found the money. He says we're broke. Council had approved this spending for this purpose. He finds the money out of the blue and undoes it. So we have an autocratic Trumpian mayor right here in Houston, and council needs to oppose it.
Here's what, it's not only council that needs to oppose it. Let me tell you, we need to start talking about, and you can probably start building this citizens group that file civil suit against an autocrat. That is what we need. We need a civil suit against an autocrat that again, he's pretty much saying that city council has no purpose. I can do as I please. And the people elected city council as your representatives. Therefore, maybe the people need to invoke a civil lawsuit.
Well, there's a ripe case for that, and that is Proposition A. So if you remember last year, overwhelmingly, I forget the percentage, but overwhelmingly, the people of Houston, Proposition B, the people in our Houston, Galveston area council, the people overwhelmingly said, if we don't get fair and equal representation in this regional transportation and planning entity, the Houston, Galveston area council, we are instructed to leave. And there was a discussion about this 4 or 5 weeks ago at council. Mayor Whitmire said, I know the people who organized this thing. And so the people who organized this thing were the people against the I-45 expansion. They were the energy behind it. Now, this passed with 65, 70%, whatever it was. He doesn't intend to enforce it. The people voted for it. So that's just, and so there has been, I have heard talk of a lawsuit to get us to, Councilmember Pollard encouraged someone to file a lawsuit, but there's just another example. So not just council ordinances, the mayor, this is a referendum by the people of Houston, and he's just like, the hell with that.
Yeah, again, we need, one of the things that let some politicians get away with these things is that people are not engaged. What I hope is that with programs like ours and blogs like yours and mine, that we make people aware of actually what's going on, so that these guys can't run their little autocracies around the country, right? So, Neil, it's on you. You need to start promoting the necessary civil suits, brother. What is it called? It's not called, I think it's Houston Democracy Project. It's called Houston Democracy Project. It's on you, brother. As brother Tom Hartman would say, tag, it's you. Anyway, welcome aboard the chat. Billy Allison Irwin, I think, from Summerwood. We also have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. We also have Jay. Jay, where are you from? Thank you for supporting our online books. Let's say what else we got here. We also have PDR. But David on line 1, come on in, David. How are you doing, my dear brother? Is this David from Michigan?
No. Egberto, San Francisco.
David from San Francisco. How are you doing, David?
Oh, okay.
Hey, pretty good. We had a mayor similar to what you're describing out here in San Francisco about 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was associated with Oliver North when he was still bringing that cocaine into the country and pretending to be a patriot. And this guy was a lieutenant in the slummiest part of town, and mysteriously all this cocaine started showing up, and nobody would ever get arrested. And mysteriously, this guy gets elevated to become police chief, and then all of a sudden runs for mayor and becomes mayor. And so he started doing exactly what you're describing of your mayor. And the taxpayers, the way we resolved it was the taxpayers had to basically check the books 100 different ways. And no matter how conservative somebody is, they always like to know that they're not being ripped off. Mm-hmm. And if I remember right, this mayor was trying to crack down on the homeless, who were left over after the earthquake 30 years ago. And he spent $11 million just trying to break one group. And not all of them, but just one group. He mysteriously put police overtime, cracked heads, all sorts of different things. A lot of people got hurt, but we whooped him. And so there is a way of doing it, and checking the books is a big part of it. But also reminding people that the mayor has a duty to care. And that's a big part of America, how we broke free from the king in 1776, that the king wasn't showing any duty to care. He pretended that God put him in charge. But the Bible says that, kings are supposed to look out for every sparrow. And this so-called king wasn't looking out for any sparrow, much less every. And so the rich were being hurt as much as the poor. So, just keep checking the books. And one way of doing it, by the way, is to find the people who are behind them and boycott them. And so Project 2025, let's see, I think one of the biggest supporters of Project 2025 is a guy named Uline. Uline paper products, Uline boxes, Uline tape, all sorts of different paper products and shipping products. And in this kind of Amazon world where everybody's getting stuff sent through delivery, well, that's how this guy is becoming vastly wealthy, Project 2025 guy, and we just got to boycott them, make them cry when their books start crashing. And also, you've got your famous Harlan Crow in Texas. You boycott Crow Properties. If I remember right, his website is crowdevelopment.com, and just go to crowdevelopment.com and start studying what properties he owns and figure a way to put grains of sand in his way, make him lose money.
I like your activism, David. I like your activism. You're in San Francisco. You're up early, brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's got a neighbor that decided to play a football game loud, so I didn't have a lot of choice.
Well, good. Well, look, thank you for your commentary, brother David. And you keep listening and you keep calling. Thank you for being for calling in. All right, sir?
Yeah, we'll do. Have everybody. I'm going to get radical on you, and I'm going to wish everybody happy holidays.
Well, how radical, man. Thank you so kindly. You have a wonderful day, sir. Let's go to brother Bard. Bard, come on in.
Good morning, sir. Yes. I don't want to hear that happy holiday garbage, so Merry Christmas. But, David, I agree with you. I think the mayor was named Willie Brown, and if you'll research him, you'll find out where Kamala came from, and you'll find out how she got to where she is today. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to support Neil. I agree with you, Neil. This mayor we have is he's a Democrat, and I agree. I don't support what he's doing, and his supporters are Democrats, and I agree with Neil that we need to push back on it. But you could
let me say this: the first part is right. He is a Democrat. There's a temptation to call him a Republican because he is a Democrat. He identifies as a Democrat. His supporters are not Democrats. He was elected 65-35. I remember a poll. I'm sorry if it was the Chronicle or the Hobby School. Republicans supported him in the poll before the election, 97-3, I think was the number, over Sheila Jackson Lee, rest her soul. The mayor won with a lot of Latino votes, Latino Democrats, and some measure of Democrats in the Heights and things like that. Those Democrats probably aren't voting for him anymore. And if he runs for re-election, his coalition at the moment, I think, would be Republicans and what of his Latino base that he could keep. And our city elections are disproportionately Republican, disproportionately white, disproportionately older. And that's the coalition that he rode to defeat Congresswoman Jackson Lee. So is he a Democrat? Yes. Are his supporters Democrats? I'm not sure that's the case anymore. And it wasn't much the case to begin with.
I actually say he caucuses with the Democrats.
Right. Well, he continues, and we were told by Sylvia Garcia, it's important, though, to continue to identify him as a Democrat because Senator Carol Alvarado, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, the AFL-CIO Labor Council, they kept telling us, oh, this guy's okay. This guy's okay. And they've crammed that rip-off firefighter contract down our throats. But it's important to call him a Democrat. In that we need to remember the role of other Democrats who said this guy's okay, and he wasn't okay.
And like I said, the people have to speak out. But Bart, Neil addressed the issue with the mayor. I want to address the issue with Kamala. And the reason why I did is I promised to push back anytime anybody pushes something, anytime a woman is successful. She doesn't need some man to be the genesis of said success. And this woman is successful in her own right. This woman is much more intelligent than the person who won the election. But unfortunately, we're still in a system and I just did a TikTok about it this morning. We're still in a system where gender and race plays a big part. And we simply have to listen to your narrative often to understand your own biases. But that's okay, my dear Bard. We still have room for even you, my dear brother. So thank you for calling, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Moses.
Please, sir.
Come on in, Moses.
Good morning.
Good morning, sister. How you doing?
All right. Let me make this point. Concerning the mayor of Houston and every other one, I called him a dog in a goat party. The dog wanted to enter the goat party, so he put on false horns. And when the goat at the door checked his horns, the horns fell. And they found out he was a dog and not a goat. So there it is. Now, the point is, what needs to be done is to blow the trumpet loud all over the city and wake up all the people. Just as what happened in South Korea. The man did it at midnight. It didn't take a few minutes. At the same time, the whole city or the whole place was woken up. The people and their representatives moved immediately to right the wrong. They moved the trash. They did not wait the next day. And we see that again. What happened with the term called a vote of no confidence in a defective leader? We have lost that. And we looked again and we saw it in France. We have this person in France. And what did the French do? What did the French do? They called a vote of no confidence in the man and they moved the trash immediately.
Moses, you know what is amazing? The coalition that actually got rid of the central government was a coalition of the far right and the far left. Amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, look at what is happening in nations that are beginning to see what the mistakes in America. When they begin to see the defect coming onto them, they begin to see, the disease coming, immediately they know the danger and they do not wait to to take people to court or anything. The whole place moves the trash immediately.
That is so true.
In this time that we are living, when we see the defect, somebody needs to blow the horn so the whole country can hear it. Here comes the danger. And they can be reasoned, they can rise and remove the trash immediately. Not wait for lawsuits and all this kind of stuff that drags on. Move
Thank
the
you.
trash.
Hey, Moses, thank you. But thank you, Moses. Thank you. But my lines are all taken now, so I have to run down and start taking calls one at a time. You have a wonderful day, and thank you so kindly for calling. Jay is in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and Los Angeles, California. Man, I have some early listeners on the West Coast already.
They're up early, man. Yeah.
And also on Mountain Time. Hey, I love you guys. Anyway, let's get to Eddie. Come on in, Eddie, número 4.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
We're doing fine.
Morning.
Yesterday you were talking about an article that said even though Trump was elected, voters wanted progressive policies more. And you cited a study, and I wanted to challenge you on 3 points in that study.
Please do.
Okay, so first point is they pulled 5,000 individuals. They never break down the individuals to say, are they 50-50 Trump-Harris voters? Are they 60-40 Trump-Harris voters or Harris-Trump? That makes a big, because you can predict the result.
I agree with you. Go ahead. Continue. Next point.
Second point, 5,000 people out of how many people that voted? Last I checked, 156 million people voted. Mm-hmm. That's 0.00003% of the voters. There's not a mathematician in the world that would say you get any statistical significance out of that poll.
Okay, what's your third point?
Third point is read the question. The biggest discrepancy in healthcare, the question said, and I'm driving, so forgive me, I can't read it.
No, that's fine.
Would you be in favor of a policy that lowers Medicare costs, medical costs, and lowers prescription drug costs? Or would you be in favor of a policy that slows innovation and makes it slower and harder to bring new drugs and cure to the market? Think about how that I'm a strong conservative. I'm going to vote for the progressive policy if you frame it that way.
And I agree. And, that's a point. That is a point that I'm making. The problem, and I'm glad you brought up those 3 points because it gets me to address you directly. First of all, a 5,000 people sample for 156 million country, if that statistical model is done correctly, it actually is a good reflection of the population. That is a statistical certainty. So on that point, sir, you're incorrect. Number 2, if you talk about no, sir, I made you say your piece. Some folks say that I don't give people a chance to talk. I made you say all of the things you wanted to say. I'm telling you, a 5,000 people sample is correct. However, where I agree with you is that sample should be representative of the population, or in the case of voting, it should be representative of those who vote. That particular part, I can't give you a definitive answer, but I can tell you one thing. Since I've been going to Netroots where we do these types of pollings for quite a while. It has turned out that both conservative folks and progressive folks alike, there are so many policies they like in common, and those policies happen to be progressive. And you pointed out, even in your statement for the last statement that you made, you said, well, if a question is asked that way, I would probably vote for the progressive answer as well. And you know why you voted for the progressive answer? Because it was the sensible answer. It was a sensible question. That's why, my brother. So what I'm saying, did I interrupt you, sir? Please let me finish. And then you. All right. So what I'm saying is I respect your view, and I respect that you are a sensible, smart person. And a sensible, smart person, if the progressive idea makes more sense for you and your family, that is what you will choose, irrespective of calling yourself a conservative. Now you can answer, sir.
Okay. When I say I choose that, it's not because I agree with necessarily that policy. The other choice is garbage. If you say your choices are, do you want $100 or a punch in the gut? I'm probably going to choose $100.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to healthcare, oh, go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, but that's the choice that question gave me. It gave me, do I want to save money or do I want to kill medical procedures?
And that's the right question, is what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is those. Go ahead. Oh my God, I thought you were done. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't believe my conservative policies kill innovation, cause drugs to come slower to the market.
Okay, and I can tell you that you're definitely wrong, and I can explain why you're definitely wrong. And let me do it this way. Every drug that you think yours. No, it's not an opinion. This is a statement of fact. And let me explain why it's a statement of fact, because it's already done. It's not in the future. It's in the past. Okay? Every drug that. Can I finish? All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Every drug on the market has its genesis in the public sector. Even the drug that the Danish people are making a bunch of money on with the DSP-1 or DP-1 or whatever it's called for your gut. All these drugs have their genesis with the investment of your tax dollar and my tax dollar at university. The capitalist system only picks these things up when it has viability. That's a statement of fact. And if you take a look at what Musk is doing as a statement of fact, these people take the government takes the risk, and they take the secondary risk. But the major risk in all the innovation we've had thus far in this country, most of it came from the government, whether you want to accept it or not, but it is numerical and it can be proven with everything that we have done thus far. If you want to go into more detail, we can do that on another show, because I don't have the time right now.
Nope, I understand. Thanks for the time. I'll call back.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful day. Let's go to Betty. Betty, a quick one, I hope. My dear sister Betty.
Okay. I'm Bart. He has no body or reflexes. It is called a hand is quicker than the eye. He has none. What I wanted to say about the homeless, it's going to be, if we have a hard freeze, it can be the death, and what a way to go. And on Whitmore, I got to hang my laundry out on him. Whitmore is a Rand Paul's father. He liked to write the laws and pick our pockets. And, he was a very bad guy and nuts. But Whitmore, he needs to go take a walk.
Thank you so kind. Betty, you just have a way with words every morning that you call here. You have a way with words.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sister. Have a great day. All right, let's go to Jeff. Come on in, Jeff. Real quick, Jeff. I don't have a lot of time.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Good. I just want to say, the conservative that called just a few minutes ago, he was pretty sharp on his points. And, you talk about facts. That's a fact. I want you to, if you can, and if you will, start putting out where you get these facts from.
I always do, sir. I can only do what I do on the air, but everything that I do on the air have a corresponding blog to it, and in the blog usually have the references to what I talk about. So I'm not. Look, let me tell you, Jeff.
I'm just asking where we can find it.
And that's what I'm telling you. If you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, all of the things that we talk on the show are somehow in my newsletter, and the genesis of where I get the information leads you to the data as well. All I want is truth, Jeff, nothing more. It's not for me. It's not about it sounds good or making a point or a gotcha. You can get me anytime. If you prove me wrong, I am wrong. Okay, I promise you that.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
And that's all I'm saying. But I'm saying my job as a host is to be truthful, unlike many others. That's my job, to be truthful. And I want to earn my respect from the things that I say. Okay, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, I have 2 more people in 2 minutes, so I got to go. But thank you for calling in. And you keep okay? Thank you, brother. Have a great day. Okay, Patrick, I'm going to need a quick one from you, my brother. Come on in, Patrick.
Okay, I'll make it quick for the caller that was talking about innovation. 5,000 people is plenty large enough sample, as long as they're not cherry-picked or if it's truly random. That's actually a large group to pull on. It doesn't matter the percentage. Now, they can even translate things like that over to upper primates. The predictability, we share that with them with behavior and choices. Now, Bart needs what I'd like from Bart is a list of people that he thinks that are running as Republican that are actually Democrats. That's something I don't think that this party does. I don't agree with everything that the party does. Neither do you. Neither does Neil. That's part of the beauty of being progressive, is that we're actually interested in what's best for the people. So we'll challenge people when there is an issue, and that's exactly what y'all are doing. I just think that he needs to ask what his intentions are versus yours. There's the intention to help, and then there's the intention to deceive people. He's trying to deceive people. I'll leave it at that since we're out of time.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll see you at 3 if you're there, my brother. Have a great day. All right, let's go to Brother Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Good morning. How is everyone?
We're fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay. Do you understand what capitalism is? First off, for those that don't know me, maybe new listeners, my wife is from Beijing, China. We immigrated properly through the proper channels. She never once said anything bad about this country, how the economy is run. But
hey, make your point. Make your point, because we don't have the time. Thank you, sir.
Do you understand capitalism? You want theft through confiscation and taxes. That's all you want. Confiscation of wealth through taxes. That's
you can go ahead and define it as you will, sir. What I want is people paying their fair share of taxes, and what I want is a system where the few don't make their profit off the backs of others. Now, you are fine with people. Let me finish. I let you talk. You are fine being enslaved both mentally and physically by a system. Most Americans are not, and that's all I'm saying. Nothing less than that. You are always out there protecting and defending those who negatively affect you. And you may not see it because you choose not to see it, but most Americans do. But thank you, Brian. We'll talk tomorrow. I want to close out with Brother Neil Aquino. Tell me a little bit about Houston Democracy Project. And I hope the fight is on to make sure that we are well represented here in Houston.
Well, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. I'm actually signed up to speak at City Council next week about just the very things that we talked about. Mayor Whitmire acting in an arbitrary, Trumpian, Musk-like fashion to disregard our Houston City Council and just make it up as he goes along as it suits him and his donors. So I'm taking that fight to council next week, HoustonDemocracyProject.com.
Well, look, thank you very much for all that you do, Neil. And one of the reasons we love having you here is that there are a lot of things that we don't quite get or learn from the mainstream media. And we can always count on the Houston Democracy Project blog, which is at HoustonDemocracyProject.com, to keep us enlightened, not only from your blog, but when you're out there in the field doing your stuff. So thank you for what you do, Neil. Let's go to the studio where those two geniuses reside.
Oh, we were just talking about Brian, and it was complimentary. I just wanted to know if he calls in on You Talk, and Jack says that he does, but he doesn't go after Michael. He just goes after you.
Yeah, but that's okay. You know, I really like Brian, right? Because Brian gave me the opportunity to point out a lot of things, because there are many with Brian's mindset. And if at any time we crack a little crumb off of his mindset, we are helping not only Brian, but a whole lot of other people. But that's my thought. Anyway, what's up, guys?
Okay. Jack, what you got, man? I got nothing.
Why does government allow corporations to take advantage of a citizen? Why?
Because they buy them out. That's why.
There you go.
I mean, the United States is the best government money can buy and the best health care you can afford.
You know what?
And I will say it for years to come until something changes. Again,
oh, my God.
The United States government is the best government that money can buy. Obviously, they have. Who do we have coming into office?
Yes.
And who are his appointees? It's the best government money can buy. And that's just what they've done.
You know, Howard, this is going to be the government first that is so loaded with billionaires in top spots. I mean, we have a lot of work cut out for us to save our democracy. But anyway, thank you guys for being there. Thank you, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas, Billy Addison Irwin from Summerwood. We have Jay from New Mexico and LA. We have David from San Francisco. We have brother Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, and as well Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Atlanta. We are all over the place, man. Look, folks, love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. Thank you, Neil Aquino, for being here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.